Hello, conscious creators. Shanali Gray here from Goddess Creations, and this is my second attempt at recording the Ostara video because the one I recorded yesterday in that wonderful sunny weather, looking all pretty, let's say in the sun, was at fault because my ears were not connected to the phone and therefore the sound was very poorly. Now, of course, whenever you're watching this at a later time, who cares? So let me speak in the now as to what I would like to share about Ostara. At the moment that I'm recording it, it is now really the day of the equinox. It is that moment in time when the day and the night are as long as each other. And that is a precise moment because it's not something that can be sustained. You wait one little bit longer, 1 second longer, and already the scale has been tipped the other side. So what am I talking about? We are talking about the spring equinox. There are two in a year. You have spring equinox when, as I said, the day is as long as the night. And then from that moment on, the day becomes longer than the night. And you have the fall equinox where the day is as long as the night. And from that moment on, that is in September, the night becomes longer than the day. And there is much to say about that. And my previous, what happens when I usually record a video for a second time, usually I forget half of the stuff or I say other inspired stuff. What I want to share about Ostara is that it is celebrated as that moment in time when the day tips more into the sunnier half of the year. Energetically, people call this the beginning of spring, but actually, if you think about it logically, let's say, we call the beginning of summer midsummer, which is in June, and Christmas or Yule is actually midwinter, which is in December. So if you cut the cake of the year in four, then March becomes mid-spring and fall becomes mid-fall. So September becomes mid-fall. I don't want to be on the learning section too much, but I just wanted to touch on that actually we are in mid-spring, as the beginning of spring was around the 1st of February called Imbolc, when, you know, that tentative, the first small, very fragile buds come out of the ground, the lambs are born, the land starts to thaw if you've had a freezing time. So coming back to now, when we are in spring or mid-spring, and we have the flowers that are blooming and in lovely soft pastel colors, the softer tulip and the daffodils and the narcissuses and the violets, even though they have a harder purple color. This is that energy of new abundance coming in, and the grass is becoming greener and the weeds are growing along too. This is the moment when you can sow the seeds of your desires and focus on them even more and give them the energy that you want to give them, so that after the summer, let's say, you can reap your fruits of your work. I'm not talking only about the land energy, the land plants and seeds. I'm talking about new projects. I'm talking about your desires. For me, going back onto the time, the beginning of the year when I set my intentions for the year, I had peace and joy and love and fun as my intentions. And I must say, what you ask for, you do get if you hold it in your heart, in your vision, in your feeling of gratitude and happiness. So that energy is coming my way in abundantly. With regards to back to you and Ostara. Ostara has certain goddesses around the energy of this fertility, of this life-giving. You can take Flora, who is a goddess of the flowers and of the plants, and she is about the flowers and the abundance of the land growing. You have Persephone, and Persephone is the goddess of the underworld. And I'm just going to touch on her a little bit, where before she was the maiden Cora, and Cora was abducted, let's say, according to the patriarchal version, by the god of the underworld, Hades. And she was abducted to the underworld, and At that moment, her mother, happens in fall, let's say, her mother was grieving for the loss of her daughter. Her mother, Demeter, was the goddess of the abundance of the land, actually. And Cora helped her in the maintenance of that. But when her daughter was abducted, then Demeter went into grieving and shut down the world, let's say, from the foods of the land, and that's how winter was created. Now, after some negotiation, Cora the maiden had become by then the queen of the underworld, Persephone. And part of the negotiation was that to sustain the world, the land, she was allowed to be in the upper world for another half year. And from that moment on, Demeter was then joyous and let the land bloom again. Now, to be a goddess of the underworld and the above world at the same time, that's a hard-working job. And I want to say that maybe you recognize that energy in yourself, that time when you are always giving and working hard, and you are allowed to slow down at times. You are allowed to take your pause in the winter. But for now, back to Ostara, this is the moment of coming up and blooming and being frolicsome and joyous and playful. Ostara is also taken from or connected to the goddess Eostra, which is a German or a Germanic goddess, and that is where Easter is coming from. And I don't know exactly whether she is a real goddess or not, because her mentioning of her is of more recent times than other goddesses and gods mentioned in story and in mythology. But it doesn't matter, because it is the time for Easter or Ostara for celebrating the new land, the new projects, the new fertility and abundance of the world, of the land. We're talking about, the chicks. I mean, we have the chickens and the eggs. They are connected to her. Rabbits. They are about the multiplying, I was about to say fornication, but the multiplying. Bunnies are known for multiplying, and that is that energy of fun and sexuality, sensuality. And that energy we are allowed to share and find and connect to in ourselves. Sure, we can talk about the male-female side of things, and I want to touch on that as well, because according to the pagan wheel of the year, let's say, in Yule, which is the Christmas time, as I said, the goddess gave birth to the sun, or the sun with an O or the sun with a U, it's the same energy. The sun, at that moment, the sun comes back up and starts to gain in strength. That is also the symbolism of the goddess giving birth to the sun with an O. And when you come to Imbolc, which is at February, you have that the youth, the god, is now the child and is connected to the energy of the lamb. And now at Ostara, this god energy has now in his youth, and he meets the goddess as maiden, and they are in playful spirits, and that is the energy of this time of year, this spring feeling of, and you may have felt it at the beginning of February already, but now even more so, that sense of love, that sense of flirtation, that sense of wanting to play. People are happy to get back outside again and have fun with each other. That energy, and I'm coming back to you, conscious creator, you who are the hardworking woman, who may be giving too much, who may have even shut down her feelings. Our challenge is to enter into our feeling of sensuality and love and openness. Like the flowers that are blooming at this time, our challenge is to open up and let that loving feeling enter. Now, it can be love for a new project, it can be love for a new partner, it can be love for an older partner, but it also has to do with the vulnerability of loving yourself, but your vulnerability, opening up, allowing yourself to feel, allowing sensations to course through you. For myself, and this is funny because I couldn't have said this in my previous video because it wasn't so at the time, but I am discovering for myself the ecstatic dance. And that is a beautiful dance of getting out of the head and coming into the body and just going with the flow in connection or solo with another. That feeling of letting go of control and opening up your senses to your own feelings, senses in touch, in sight, in sound. That's the beautiful energy of Ostara. And I find it beautiful that that is coinciding. Let me not make it too personal here in this Ostara video. I'm just sharing that, and I'm inviting you to discover for yourself, how can you tap into this playful energy of this time of the year? Because the summer is going to be starting around May, beginning May, Beltane, and then it's going to be in a more, you could say heavier, but more grown-up energy. Now is the time for play and abundance. You can celebrate or connect with this energy more with wearing pastel colors, as I am now wearing light blue. You have the light pinks, you have the yellow, you have the green, silver. These are colors that can help you connect with this energy more. And who cares? Do whatever suits you. You can also play at crafting, let's not forget the eggs. Painting the eggs is a fun way to, with the family or solo, decorating with the colors of this year, help you to enter into that playful spirit for yourself. Animals of this time, as I said, are the bunnies and the chicks, and the mythological creature, the phoenix, is also of this time, where from that time of dying in the ash, she now rises up into bloom, that rebirth moment. This is another form. Actually, there are many rebirths throughout the year, but this is one of those again, that rebirth moment of creativity, of life. And I want to come back to the goals, as I just touched on just that little bit before. If you have set goals at the beginning of the year, this is the time to see if you are still on course. Maybe you want to let go, if you haven't already done so at around February with the spring cleaning, let go of all of that does not serve you. This is that moment, as I said, that balance moment where you are really allowed to choose what do you take to focus on into the sunnier half, the lighter half of the year. What do you want to focus on to let grow? Therefore, you need to be weeding, getting rid of your old emails, maybe getting out of certain groups that don't serve you. You know, do you need to be in all of those groups? I've gotten rid of a lot of emails and still I have too many. These things can clutter up. And you want to make space for all of your desires to be able to take fruit in the sunnier half of the year, the time when you have more energy to give life and focus on your desires so that you can reap your fruits, as I said, at the end of the year. Festivals are coming up and be more active at this time. Have fun, play, who cares, dance, sing, be jolly, merry. And I would like to invite you to just focus on these things, make choices, dare to say no, dare to let go. Daring to say no is saying yes to yourself. This is me just touching on part of the things of Ostara, and I am wishing you at this time when the sun is around at its highest point around the middle of the earth, let's say, this is that time when it's a 50-50 moment, and it's going to tip either to the northern hemisphere, which is where I am at now, and therefore the southern hemisphere is going into the darker half. That's when this moment of time is for you to be aware of these cycles. What do you want to take into the next phase of life? What do you want to reap at the end of, until the next equinox, the next balance point? And balance is only, as I said, a moment in time. You can't maintain balance because nature is always growing, is always changing, but you can always adjust and see if you're still on course. So that's my invite to you. Just see if you're still on course, have fun with it. Don't take things too seriously. Open up and allow yourself to receive love, peace, joy, abundance, and be in gratitude, because when you are in gratitude, your heart is open and many blessings can come your way. This is me, Shamlily Gray from Goddess Creations, speaking on Ostara and wishing you a lovely time. Bye for now.